One of the things that is most important for us, not only in written form and video form and any form that we communicate, is to distill our communications to the things that matter. And this is one thing that the degenerative, what I call degenerative AI, really helps with.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. All right, here we go. Very excited. All right, this is going to be a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to reintroduce you to a member of the community. You've probably been in breakout sessions together. You've probably interacted. If not, you're about to. He's an absolute top-tier marketing leader, data-driven strategist, marketing innovator, a creative communicator, you name it. And he's got this global view, everything from Budapest all the way back over into the States. He has this global view, VP of Marketing at First Resonance, Ron Close. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Casey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm excited to get into it and learn from you. So what I want to do here is I have this one question I need to ask you. And let's see here. Ron, spotlight is on you. What is the one thing that marketers need to do to connect to their market?
Casey, what I found is having empathy with your customers is super important, and having the number one finger by your side would be great too. I feel bad that I don't have mine.
Oh, we'll get you one.
Oh, sweet. But I think having empathy for what your customer is doing, and not empathy in terms of understanding, but empathy in terms of excitement. And at First Resonance, I get to serve customers that are building satellites and rocket ships and defense and portable nuclear reactors. And I am super excited when I see what they're doing and what the way that they're going about manufacturing and making it a more technology-driven practice than it has been in the past. So I think that's really important. And this is held true for some of the companies I've had the good fortune to work for in the past. In the past, I worked in construction tech, and watching what it takes to build a multi-billion-dollar skyscraper or design a beautiful beach house. All of these are incredible feats that our customers take. So having this empathy helps me to get excited about what they do. And in marketing, it's really important that we have this drive to make our customers successful. It's really about what they do. And that's what kind of brings me into the office every day.
Man, Ron, you passed the vibe check 100%. That's what my kids would say. Man, I feel the empathy, and I also feel the excitement. Man, you're talking about them launching things and doing this and doing that. It really made me ponder and do a little self-check on myself. Is this something that it can be learned, or are you just a really cool guy? You just have this built-in empathy.
I think I've been very lucky to select places that actually align with the things that excite me and energize me. Just this past April, we went to a show called the Space Tech Show in Colorado, and you're walking around with lunar landers and mock-ups for satellites and things like that. How can you not be excited about that? And if you're, so I think selecting the company that you work with and picking customers that align with your personal philosophy of life are just a great way to go.
Man, we could talk for hours on space. I am a nerd with that too. I will get up and watch a launch, and I will be as emotional on YouTube as I am in person, maybe if not more. But yeah, interesting though, right? Because what you do isn't that. You're not launching the rocket, but your customers are. And if you're helping them do that, you're part of that effort.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a small part of empowering them and enabling them to do this. And yeah, it's exciting. So our founder came from SpaceX, and whenever
Wow.
SpaceX has a launch during the day, everyone stops what they're doing and we gather by the big TV and we watch the launch. And it's just this incredible excitement. And we want nothing more than our customers to kick some butt out in the market.
Man, that's awesome. So you literally, as a team, you're stopping it. So it sounds like you're just really dedicated. So like circling back around when I asked you, like, can we Do we have to have this built in, or can we learn this? It sounded like it was almost like an alternative answer of saying, well, you were deliberate, intentional about the kind of places you chose to work so that you could be excited about it. I mean, now I guess to check you on that, if I dropped you into another company that you didn't have that ability to look at, and maybe they're making rubber ducks. I mean, that sounds fun, actually. Insert unfun
I
thing.
kind of like rubber ducks. Yeah,
Yeah, data migration. There you go.
yeah, it's an interesting question, Casey. I think part of it might be just having, what's important for me and maybe something that would help marketers is to have innate curiosity. I love seeing how things are made. And so you're kind of right. You could probably drop me into a place that's building reams of paper and I would get
Right.
excited about it. So yeah, maybe it's part of my personality and this innate curiosity. But yeah, I think having an appreciation for how the world is made is might be useful for us folks in marketing. And I remember back one of my first business books I ever read was not a business book about Steve Jobs creating the next Apple computer or the iPhone. It was how to swim with the sharks without getting eaten. And it was about this. The story was the guy takes a paper factory that's competing with Kimberly Clark, and through process and automation, he makes it interesting, exciting, and successful. And so I think part of it is, yeah, it's a lot easier when they're building rockets and spaceships, but it's also just having a curiosity for how things are done, whether it's a stack of paper or the next lunar lander.
Yeah. And curiosity is now I don't I wonder if that's innate, but you're right. There's that. I think a lot of us in marketing share that though. The idea of like, what is behind that door, door number 4, you know?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Um, and then when you have this, and what's the result, right? So you have this empathy and this excitement about what your customers are doing. What's the byproduct? How does that influence your campaigns and your strategy?
I think it really affects the voice of how you communicate. And it helps you to communicate in a way that resonates with your customers. Because if you're truly excited about what they do, our success, for example, we did a big launch yesterday and the launch was really fun and important for us. But if our communications are really highlighting what our customers are doing and our small contribution to that. So I think it influences how we approach the market, how we speak about our business as an enabler of what the customers do. And of course, we want to brag about our technology and we want to talk about all of the great features we offer. But at the end of the day, what I think is where we get the most engagement is showing that authenticity that we really care about what our customers do. And a lot, and if you're a Simon Sinek fan, then you think about the why, right?
Yeah.
And our why is because we think that the world is ready to go through this renaissance in manufacturing. And when our customers see that, then they like to align with us and work with us.
What is your why as a company?
Our why is pretty simple. We want to help companies that are in the process of doing advanced manufacturing, build things faster and with a complex products where you have like a rocket, for example, that's going to go through multiple iterations while you're in the production phase. And so
Yeah.
our why is to really help them to build complex products and do so quickly, effectively, and with all of the data at their fingertips.
That's great. I mean, and tell that to an engineer and they're like, cool, hop in, let's go. Right. And your why is aligned to helping them get their job done.
It is, and one of the things that excites me about being here is I spent a lot of my career in the CAD world, where we're talking to the engineers and the folks on the design side, which is a very important part of how things are done. But I think that the manufacturing side has been neglected for so long. It's under digitalized compared to all the tools that you have for engineering. And our why is also related to helping manufacturing the production shop floor get the benefits of this digitalization. And now it's more important than ever with the movement towards onshoring and more vertical integration. This is not just a nice to have anymore. This is what's going to make companies hum.
Did you come into the company, into First Resonance, with a background in manufacturing, or did you have to learn a lot when you got there?
A little bit of both.
Both.
And so I come from a manufacturing background. In fact, 100 years ago, I was a NC machinist. And
Wow.
yeah, I was so I really love the process of seeing how things are built.
Yeah.
And through my time in the CAD industry, I've got to walk the shop floor often and see
Oh,
things getting
nice.
built. So I've had a few years in the real world building things. So I do have a manufacturing affinity, but most of my career has been on the software side since then. So I've got this appreciation for manufacturing. But what was new for me, and one of the things that attracted me to First Resonance, is this is looking at manufacturing from a company that might have started 5 years ago. They're building satellites. They're starting with a fresh slate. And how
Mm.
can they bring a more efficient, more advanced manufacturing with more complex products and operations than have ever been done before? How do they bring that together? And that was really cool. It's no fun going somewhere if you already know how to do everything and you already perfectly understand the industry. So I would say I had enough of an appreciation for it. But part of the excitement of being here is I get to learn how these companies are changing the future.
And what a cool background to have been on a shop floor. So, no one's really able to call you on much because it's like, hey, I've been there. I rolled up my sleeve and made this happen in the past. Of course, it was 100 years ago, but
That's right. I had the hot chips burning my hair and
oh
the
wow.
coolant sprayed in my face when I lived and worked in Japan for 10 years. And they used to call me the hands dirty
Oh, gee.
marketing guy because I actually got my hands dirty and did some of that work. It was a lot of fun.
And I'm sure that was tied to the curiosity, but I gotta imagine that getting your hands dirty just added to your empathy.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I mean, it's a manufacturing is not a clean, precise process. It's very scrappy.
Mm,
And I kind of, I guess if I were to describe myself, I think of myself as a scrappy marketer.
yeah.
It's very scrappy. I remember now I'm going to really age myself 100 years ago working on the manufacturing line for the old DC-10s.
Wow.
And I was generating an NC program. So I walk out to the shop floor and I want to see how my program's running. And there's this guy over there with the grinder, and he's grinding this rib that I just machined out perfectly to fit in a DC-10. I said, "Why is that guy grinding this?" "Oh, that's Charlie. He's been doing that for 10 years. The design was never right. He's over there making sure that it fits in the doorway." And there's so many examples of this in manufacturing where you think it's super airtight process, but it's not. It's messy, it's scrappy, and it's almost a miracle that things get built.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. The idea that, if who is the guy grinding things down?
It's early.
Charlie. Without Charlie there, Charlie retires and then none of the doors fit anymore, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Which
Dang.
yeah, no comment on current situations, but yeah.
Right. Right. You gotta wonder how much of that's built in. Or maybe the challenge with Boeing, maybe a lot of folks did leave too. Who knows, right? But wow, so the get your hands dirty marketer. Man, I feel like there's a book in your future.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it was for getting the empathy, having walked in the customer's shoes somewhat, I think that helps me a lot. And you don't always get that opportunity. I've never built a skyscraper, but I do appreciate what
Sure.
it takes to get one done.
Sure, sure. There's gotta be I mean, we've talked a lot in the past about, joining sales calls gets you a lot more empathy for sales,
Absolutely, yeah.
and joining your customer on site when you can. I mean, I feel like we should do that more often these days. I don't you don't hear a lot about that,
No,
you know?
100%. I think that's, the one thing that you're coming into a new company, even if you know the industry, you have to spend time with the customers.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to do that?
A lot of times I don't get the opportunity to go in a customer call when we're prospecting, but I do when there's a challenge that they need addressed. So I can accompany the customer service rep. And so a lot of the exposure I have is the discussion with the customer of some things that they'd like us to improve on. So I get
Mm,
a good earful from that. So that's one part of it. And then the other opportunity that I've had more often is we host these roundtables at the company where we'll bring thought leaders from the industry. And these are super interesting. They'll talk about some of the broad macro level challenges that they face in terms of working with supply chains or introducing new technology or interfacing properly with engineers. And so those I found to be super beneficial in understanding the macro level, while the site visits with the customer service rep helps me understand the bottom up, what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
And I guess as things get more digital, it's maybe a little bit more straightforward in manufacturing. There is a site to visit, but sometimes with the virtual companies or, sort of software companies, it's like, what do you visit? But still, it's worth shaking hands or something.
One of the tools that we use here frequently at First Resonance is called backengine.ai. And I'm not sure if you've heard of this or used this, but what we can do there is we actually take transcripts of customer conversations and feedback and consolidate with an AI-driven model. And I can actually do queries and say, okay, show me over the last month what the sentiment was on the product or what customers think about our purchasing process. And so that's another way that we can take this information that is in many ways disorganized and sitting in different silos and bring it together. And so as an executive team every week, we all take a look at back engine and we take a look at what the sentiment is of the customer from that perspective. And that allows us to stay on top because, as much as I'd like to do customer visits, it's really hard to find the
Yes.
time to do them.
Yeah, it's kind of romantic, the idea of visiting a customer, but I like this idea of how does it aggregate the data? Is so it's listening to customer calls? Is there like chats and
Yeah, any way the customer communicates. So we have transcripts of all the calls that are, of course, anonymized as much as possible. And these transcripts are fed into the back engine, as well as any communications I've come across on email or through the forum. And that's all consolidated and sorted by the different perspectives that we might have, whether it's a product, a business perspective, or other cues that it might pick up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just we'll link to this on the show notes for people to check out
Yeah, for sure.
to be able to look at that. That it's like every week you're checking that out or just every so often?
No, every week. This is we have this built into our executive team meeting every week
Hmm.
that everybody spends 10 minutes, looks at back engine and identifies anything that we should bring up to the leadership team as a topic to discuss. What are the customers, what's the sentiment this week?
That's powerful. And you know what I feel I mean this is great for connect to market, right? Just the idea of oftentimes the higher up you go in an organization, the more uh, separated you get, right? From the
Right.
customer
Yeah.
because there's a customer service manager, there's a sales rep, there's a you name it, even accounting, right? There's always someone on your team, and you're not exactly supposed to interject yourself, into the finely run process if you can help it. So says leadership training. So yeah, to be able to stay connected with your customer can be a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. So I think bringing this together, and you also have the dynamic that it's one person removed. If I ask the customer service manager what the customer is thinking, and he's going to tell me what's on top of his mind and what he remembers, but he might forget the things that are relevant to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'll put his own, if he's been frustrated with a particular feature, he might, call everything a hammer and the nail is really bothering him kind of thing. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. But hearing it directly from a customer.
Yeah. Without any ill intent, but that's just kind of, what's on top of mind.
Right. 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 So to get it directly from the customer, that is special. That is magical. Can I take you back to that round table you were talking about?
Yeah.
Is that how often do you do those? And you're bringing in experts, and is it virtual or?
No, these are, we've done two of them so far. So I've only been with First Residence 4 months. So
Wow.
we did, actually we did three. Sorry. We did one in San Francisco, one in Chicago, and one in Boston. And for each one of these, we handpicked some industry leaders that are often customers or prospects, or in some cases, members of the industry. Like we had a gentleman that was a leader of MXT in
Hmm.
Chicago. And we tee up some topics. We have a Jeffersonian style conversation where we'll introduce one topic and we have one conversation at a time going around the table. And it could be the impact of onshoring to your business. or could be the impact of AI. Some very big topics, and also in some cases we drill down and get down to nuts and bolts of, what are they doing to make their businesses successful, and what do they need. And
Yeah.
it's really about manufacturing leadership. It's not about requirements gathering. It's not about selling directly
Directly.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this a public event? So it also sort of doubles as like a marketing event? Do you invite prospects to,
Well,
or this is primarily your own research?
this is our own. This is our own roundtables that we run with these. But we'll be looking to do more of these around public events and mix and match. So, for example, there's a show in Detroit this coming month called Reindustrialize 2.0, big manufacturing show,
Mm.
and we'll have the opportunity of having a high concentration of talented thought leaders in the manufacturing industry. So we'll take that opportunity to also see if we can bring some of those folks together and just have a conversation for our mutual learning.
Who's in the audience? Is it just your team?
So around the table, we keep these small. They're 6 to 10 people, and so it'll be typically a couple of members of the executive team, myself, the CEO or COO,
Yeah.
or will attend, and then it's our guest,
Wow.
and we have a nice glass of wine, a steak, and have a good chat.
Yeah. And do you record these, or this is for you're directly informing yourselves and all the other people in the event?
It's not recorded because we want our guests to feel uh, uh, more freedom
Yeah.
to talk about what's on their mind, and we'll take notes, we'll take learnings from it. We don't publish anything
Wow.
externally from this, but we learn from it. But we find that our customers also learn from each other, so it's really just a great forum for advancing the advanced
I
manufacturing.
love it. What do you call them?
We call it, well, this one was called the Manufacturing Executive VIP Roundtable.
VIP
So
roundtable.
Manufacturing Innovation VIP
And just a
Roundtable.
couple customers, like existing, star customers, join your exec team?
It could be customers. Sometimes they're folks that are not yet customers, and sometimes they're folks from the industry. For example, in Boston, we had a representative of the Massachusetts Robotics Association,
Nice.
one of the leaders from that. And so people that are helping develop thought leadership in manufacturing are also quite welcome here.
Wow. What I love about that is it's so anti-scale. It's not about, did a million people view this? It's not about, you know, building evergreen content. This is like, we see the value in directly informing ourselves, directly connecting with a customer over a good wine, but to really learn from them. And I gotta imagine that's so much different than the other kind of experiences you could have in person, where it's like, hey, come have breakfast. We're gonna pitch you for an hour and then send you on your way. This is different.
And all of these tactics have their place. I
Sure.
mean, if you think about it, the things we just spoke about. So one is this very high level industry thought leadership view at the
Yeah.
roundtables. And then we go to back engine and we're actually having those virtual one-on-one conversations with the customer of what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And we think that it's really important to put all of those pieces together. You can't have one without the other. And I'm not by any means saying I don't want 1 million hits to the website a day,
Sure.
or
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't want 2,000 people attending the webinar, but it's one of the strategies that we think helps keep us at the forefront of our thought leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of having 4,000 students doing research, let's have 40 fantastic future clients about to come on, or 400. But either way,
Yeah.
quality over quantity. Wow. Uh, what are the different ways you like to learn?
So, one, I think it's important to have a community around you. And so
Yeah.
I really appreciate the community that you've built. And
Yeah.
I've just in the last couple of months been able to join that. So I think having folks that are facing the same challenges you are and
Yeah.
solving in creative ways, that's always going to be a great practice. Another thing too, we talked earlier about the multiple bachelor degrees, rather the two
Yeah.
bachelors and not a master's. And
Yeah.
my original background was computer science back in, again, the old days.
Like, how old? We're talking punch card old?
I actually did use punch cards in the machine shop, but not at school. I was programming at Pesca, for example.
Okay.
And so, but I went back later, and in fact, just a few years ago, and thought it'd be great to do a marketing degree. So I did a marketing degree, and it was really useful because we know that it's changed so much in the last 10 years, and the last 2 years and the next two are going to be even more so. So staying current is really important. I think the last
Mm.
thing I would say is I want to quote the famous philosopher Ted Lasso, and and it's about being uncomfortable. And I think we learn by being uncomfortable. And so Ted Lasso once said, taking on a challenge is a lot like riding a horse. If you're comfortable while doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. And so I look for areas where I can be uncomfortable, like taking this role here at First Resonance. It's, although I had a background in manufacturing, I don't know advanced manufacturing. I don't know what these challenges these customers are facing. And
Right.
and the marketing approach and how we need to do things is new for me in some ways. And so having that challenge forces you to learn. You learn by doing things as much as you do by reading about them.
I feel like if you had more experience, you might almost, and this you fall into this trap, especially if you're a marketer marketing to marketers. You're like, oh, I think I know our customers so well. You never really ask them because you think you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's also the tactics that we're using. I mean, we've um, over the last year I've started to use AI as part of my arsenal of tools more than I ever did before. And it's
Yeah.
become a day-to-day part of what I do. But this idea of being uncomfortable, I think is something that I really uh, like to advise to folks that work around me. You know, how do you grow? It's by making yourself uncomfortable. Put yourself in an environment that you don't know how to do everything.
Yeah. You know, but at the same time, it acknowledge man, it is uncomfortable. You know, being in a room with strange people, being in a new position and slightly off industry experience. Yeah, it is uncomfortable. You have to have the courage to do that. What have you been messing around with AI? I know we kind of chatted a little bit earlier about it. I know
Yeah,
you're at the forefront, I think.
well, I don't know. It's a hard topic to discuss because there's so many people who are experts and know so much more than I
Sure.
do. And I feel like I've been dabbling, but I mostly
Yeah.
use ChatGPT, and I'm playing with a few other things, Opus.ai for video editing and so forth.
Mm,
But what I'm really doing is something that's not yet an accepted term in the industry. I think of If you think of AI, the first thing that pops into mind is, oh, you're doing generative content creation or generative something creation. And I
right.
almost think that it's the other way around. I think that you're taking
Mm,
ideas and creativity that you've already started to develop either in your head or on a paper, and you're asking ChatGPT to help you amplify and smooth out that message. And I always think of it, the term I like to use around here is called degenerative AI. And so degenerative AI for me is taking something that is a big piece of work. It's a well thought out concept, and using AI to distill it into something that's going to be perhaps more meaningful, more useful for your marketing efforts. And I've got three examples if you're up
yeah,
for it.
please.
So
Yeah, love to hear
so the
this.
first one I'm going to talk about is we all one of the other criticisms of AI is you lose your authenticity. And
Yes.
I think that could be true if you start with a small prompt and expect AI to do big things. But what if you go the other way? And one of the things I was thinking a lot about is is the process of writing, doing an ebook, writing a blog, writing a social media post or an essay. When you write something, you'll write it and then you'll edit it until the last minute possible before you have to turn it in. This is at
Mhm.
least the nature of people around me.
Classic.
And and you get it to a point where it's perfect in your eyes, and and it has all of the aspects of writing that you want it to have. And for some people, the result is better than others. But what I think could happen is if you were to like take this conversation we're having right now. If I was going to
Yeah.
write an article about degenerative AI, I'd spend 6 hours editing and researching and doing all the things you're supposed to do, but it probably wouldn't be as interesting as you and I talking about it one on one.
100%.
And so one of the use cases that I found to be extremely useful is to take a conversation like this. And we did so with our CEO. He recorded a podcast, and he's naturally this great speaker. He has incredible insight into the industry. And it was guard was down, and he's giving some great examples of how they did things at SpaceX and how other companies that he's seen
It's
are adapting
amazing.
this. And it was, you listen to this and you get it, and you can identify with what the content. So what we did is we took the podcast and we pulled the transcript out and just isolated what our CEO said. And without over editing it, we were able to produce some great content that really uh, helped amplify his voice. It didn't hide it. It didn't smooth it out. It actually amplified it. And it came out to be a much more natural piece than it would be if we were to start in writing. So I think the first case is taking something that you're already doing, that's natural language, and then bringing it down into something that where you make sure you have your grammar right and it's laid out properly, and there's a little bit of a story arc uh, to go with it, but you're using your expressions, your words, your descriptions. And, we got 80-90% of the way done with AI because we took his content. We didn't invent anything. And it just occurred to me
Yeah,
that we could do that with this podcast here. Now, how
we
meta
could.
is that? That we're in a
Yes.
podcast talking about doing degenerative AI, and then we actually do it. So I don't know, but
We'll totally do it.
so
Yeah.
we'll have to do that
Heck yeah.
later. So that's one
Heck
example that
yeah.
worked really well for us.
Well, hey, real quick on that, I think it's a lot of people, to your point, complain about AI being like the average across the internet of like so stuff.
Yeah,
But to take this, and I don't know if you did this or just it had enough data as is. Sometimes I'll say like, don't go out and look elsewhere. Only write about what you saw here.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for helping me make that point. That's
Yeah.
that's what made this um, gave us the ability to communicate this level of authenticity that we had.
Smart.
So that was one example. The next one is one that I'm sure other people are doing, and it's just chunky. It's taking an ebook, it's taking a long white paper, and pulling out the relevant parts for a blog post, for a social media post. So we did a huge paper on agentic manufacturing. This is a really, really important topic for us and the industry. And so we put together, before we do an ebook, by the way, we'll put together our own research paper using deep research from ChatGPT,
Sure.
but also using our own. We had about a 50-page document that really internally defines our position and our thinking on this. And then we
Wow.
distilled it down into an ebook that we're actually going to start promoting in the next week or two. Now, from this ebook, we've already had a lot of great interest from journalists and from partners that would like us to talk about this topic. So I was able to take and chunk this ebook out using ChatGPT to pull out a few chapters. Like there's one section that I think is probably a real important part because we're dealing with a topic that's relatively new. Part of this communication has to be educational. And so part of the educational piece was defining the difference between automation, analytic AI, and agentic AI,
Mm,
because they're all different. And I think it's easy to get mixed up with this hypersensitivity and focus on AI these days. So we're able to pull
yeah.
out and with the help of an AI tools to isolate those topics. So the first
Got it.
blog I wrote, I said, give me a blog that's only drawing from the comparisons of the three, and let's make that a topic. And the
I
second
like
one is
that.
let's pull up all the examples we use to the paper and just give me one with examples. And then we also,
Yeah.
can distill it down into a point that it becomes a great pitch line. And in many
Sure.
cases, we got about 80% of where we needed to be with the blogs and the posts. And I know everyone else is doing this with AI, but to me, this is still degenerative. It's not.
Yeah.
We're not asking it to give it 2 lines and create a 10-page book on agentic manufacturing. We really thought we had some, and we know we have some knowledge to share and some experience to share. So we put that into the mix, and it's almost like going to Google and going to the grocery store and telling it all the things you bought and having it tell you what you can cook that day.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It chunks it out, chops it up for you, but it's still based on your content. So
Yeah.
that makes total sense.
So the last one I call the Hemingway. And
Oh,
so
cool name.
the one of my favorite authors, especially when I was a kid and I was taking literature courses, is Ernest Hemingway. And I love how he can take a super complex set of emotions and thoughts and put them into a very concise few words. And this is, as marketers, something that we need to be very good at. And it's really, really hard to do. In fact, it's I know that the quote's attributed to multiple people. I think it was Blaise Pascal that might have been the first one that said it. Said, I would have wrote you a shorter letter if I only had more time. Right. So,
Right.
so a lot of people know this one. And I think that's probably one of the things that is most important for us, not only in written form and video form and any form that we communicate, is to distill our communications to the things that matter. And this is one thing that the degenerative, what I call degenerative AI, really helps with. And you could see where I'm
Yeah,
going here. So we recently, as part of our launch
totally.
that went off yesterday, we had a video that I wanted to be 70 seconds long. And we wrote the script and reiterated on it, and we couldn't get under 90 seconds.
Really,
It was
yeah.
really tough. And so I was able to take micro strings, so 15 words, say, okay, I need these 15 words to be communicated in 12, and you can't cheat and add more syllables and make really long words.
And dashes and parentheses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were able to do, what I guess what
Wow.
I call the Hemingway on the video and shorten these up to very, very concise sentences. We got down to 75 seconds. So we almost got there, but, it was the only way we were going to get that video down because it was very, very challenging you know, to leave anything out. We have a lot we want to say,
Yeah.
and I think that's uh, one of the hardest things in marketing is there's so much to say and how do we get a lot of meaning into a few words. So the three ways, again, looking at taking a podcast and preserving authenticity, the chunking, which I think everyone does now, and then the Hemingway. Those are kind of my three pillars of degenerative AI.
Man, that's so powerful. The Hemingway just remind all of these things are things we can do, but man, it's so much faster to leverage AI to do it, right? And I was thinking, I wrote a book on marketing automation a couple of years ago, and I think I was contracted for 20,000 words, and I gave them 30,000. And they're like, "We can do this, but we're going to charge you like 5 cents a word." Right?
Yeah.
If you do the math, it was like thousands of dollars, or maybe 25 cents. I don't know, something stupid. And so I had to go back through, but it was such a great exercise to go from 30 to 20 because I realized I had said something clever and then I said it again in a different way that was also clever. And I thought, well, which one's more clever? And get rid of the other one because I don't need to keep repeating myself because it sounds good. And then I remember at one point it was this 4 paragraphs on a brief history of advanced dynamic content, where it came from and why, right? And it's like, is it worth $700 for me to keep that in there?
Yeah.
Do people really need to hear that?
Yeah, that really brings it down. Yeah, I love that example. That brings it down a bit down home. It's like you actually have the cost, and as opposed to marketing, you have to think about the impact, and the cost is not so obvious. But when you have the cost laid out in front of you, that's a whole new proposition.
Yeah, every word was like, do I want to spend my own money on? I'm like, hell no. So, if anyone ever wants a brief history of advanced dynamic content, let me know. I have it in a draft somewhere, but it is not in the book. It did not make the cut. Did not the Hemingway chopped it out. Um, yeah, my next question really Ron, for you is like, who are you? Who are you? I mean, I'm loving the vibe, the empathy, the curiosity, the AI, the degenerative AI. Take me back in time, little Ron days. Did you know you're going to be a marketing leader?
When I was as a kid, I wanted to be a lawyer, and because lawyers got to
Really?
carry those really cool leather briefcases, and I thought, dude, I will have made it when I can walk around with a suit jacket and a leather briefcase. But I took a few different turns. It seems I actually going way, way, way back. I started working in a machine shop, sweeping up the chips and learned how to be a machinist. And until I was 20 years old, I was I was on a track to be a journeyman machinist until I
Wow.
started NC programming and learning how to drive the machines. And that kind of made my left turn into computer science and programming. And then I started work as a programmer, and I realized I'm not very good at this, and I didn't like it. And
We're I had the same experience. What did you not like about programming?
I didn't like sitting in the cubicle by myself all
Yeah,
day. You
same.
know,
Yeah.
I like the social aspect. I would watch what ended up eventually getting me into marketing, and I'd watch the guys doing the demos, and they were excited and they're talking to people, and you know, they were having human interactions, and I felt like I was kind of missing that piece.
Yeah. Did they ever take you into like I was doing like microprocessors by the time I graduated, like gate open, gate close, and there is nothing more basic to remind you that there's not a human involved right now. It's
But yeah,
just you in the computer lab at 11 p.m. at night making a gate open and close, with some kernel programming. You're like, what am I doing? Where are the people?
and for all you guys programming out there, I love what you do, and I'm in awe
Yeah,
of it. It's just
respect, respect.
absolute respect. But it wasn't me, and I
Right,
really wanted to have this connection with customers and with others to talk about what we're doing, to understand how they solve problems. But ironically, I was at a career night in high school. Salesman was presenting, and at the end of the presentation, he says, "How many of you want to be in sales or marketing?" Everyone but me raised their hand. And he's like, "Okay,
everyone but you.
everyone but me," because I thought this, you know, I had this impression that sales and marketing people tried to make you do things you didn't want to do. They're trying to
Right,
trick you into selling something. It's
right,
the vision of the used car salesman. I'm going to sell you this
right.
clunker here for a lot of money. But what as we're working in this field, what I found is we have a unique opportunity. We get to help people solve problems. And when we become really good at that, we become really good marketers.
Yeah. Really good marketing from solving problems. Man, I love that. Hey, bit of a hypothetical question for you next, if you're ready. All right. You see, I may or may not have a time machine over here in New Hampshire. So next time you come do an event in Boston, you come on up, we get some beer, some lobster. Okay, it's in the backyard, covered in a tarp. Okay. So we use this time machine. It's a particular kind of time machine. You go back in time and you get to meet yourself 4 days after getting that comp sci degree. What do you say to yourself? What kind of advice would you give yourself?
No, I love these kind of questions, and I'll answer it in a moment, but sometimes I've been asked, what are the things you regret most in life? And
Sure.
I honestly, I can't think of any. It's not that I haven't done stupid things. I've gotten my
Right.
share of those, but every decision I've made in life has led to me where I am now. And if I had made a different decision, then I'd be somebody else. So, if I,
100%.
the advice back then, I, I think would be to not lose the spirit of curiosity and adventure that I had then, and I still try to carry that with me now.
Yeah, curiosity, adventure. I can tell you're definitely in the thick of it still. And that is powerful. Hey man, where can people connect with you if they want to reach out?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll pop you the address afterwards. That's going to be the main place, really. I'm uh, on there almost every day.
Absolutely. It feels like it's the place to connect. So we'll do a direct link for people right from the show notes over to that so they can connect with you. And man, after hearing this conversation, next time they see you in a breakout room, they're gonna have all sorts of things to chat about. That'll be
Well, I'm
great.
sure I can learn a lot from everyone else, like I did on the last roundtable. So I look forward to that.
Absolutely, man. It was great having you in there. I can't wait to see you in the next one. And just want to say, I mean, Ron, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like this has been a very succinct Hemingway masterclass in several different topics, empathy and excitement, and the roundtables and the back engine AI and the degenerative AI. Man, I just thank you for being on here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Casey. I really enjoyed it, and look forward to the next roundtable.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And for those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone else, one person, two people who needs to hear about it. Hey, who could use a little empathy in their marketing. But the roundtable idea is fantastic. I love that. Check out the AI app and, get a little degenerative today. Let's get a little degenerate after this podcast. Send it to your favorite friend who's maybe a little bit too straight edge. Get them a little degenerate marketing. Maybe that's
Absolutely.
your book, Ron. That's
Degenerate marketing. I like it.
degenerate marketing, maybe even. So good. Well, thanks again, Ron. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Casey.
All right, everyone. This has been a crazy cool, exciting episode of the Connect to Market Pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connecttomarket.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.